Hello and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where you guys leave lots of comments on the channel and I attempt to answer those comments, or if I can't answer those comments, I throw it out to you guys who have more knowledge on some of this stuff than I do. So let's get into the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. The next comment or question comes from Classic Arcade and Amusement Park Videos. And this one's actually quite a long and wordy one, and it's in response to MODX preference over Nautilus. Comes from a mailbag I did in December 2022. And Classic Arcade writes, great video. So glad you enjoyed my comment. So this was probably me doing a response, I suspect, to a previous comment. He writes, interesting timing, your video. Just last night, a keyboard player friend of mine from other live bands bought a MODX Plus on the advice of an internet keyboard group because his Kronos died and the repair shop has not been able to fix it in 6 months. This is shocking. How many times are we seeing people reporting that the Kronoses cannot be fixed in reasonable timeframes? I absolutely find this appalling, really appalling. Korg, why is this happening? Anyway, he attended shows of my band using the MODX Plus at Plus Soft Synths and decided to go the route of the lightweight, powerful, affordable MODX over the Nautilus. I drove up 30 miles and gave him a tutorial on the MODX to get him started and showed him all the great tutorial videos online and how easy it is to get great support from other users on Facebook. Now, the MODX does seem to have a very, very strong Facebook presence, I have to be honest. He was a loyal Korg person for decades, kind of how I used to be. He was hugely disappointed with his Triton broke, and after several years he was never able to recreate some of his favourite Triton patches in his Kronos, even going through the sound collections. One comment he mentioned last night: what happens when the montage MODX is replaced? Do I have to go through this all again? I said, this is one of the best things about Yamaha in the last 20 years. File compatibility. When Korg comes out with a new keyboard, they typically abandon their loyal customers and start all over from scratch. Kind of like Apple, in with their new and out with the old. Yamaha's mainline synths have been compatible with each other moving forward for the last 20 odd years. If you had an original Motif and the second, the Motif EF, I've probably pronounced that Motif ES, was compatible. Pretty much all the factory sounds were included in the new model though. The Montage and MODX are fully compatible with sound collections made from the Motif XF, XS and XF, then sounds from the Motif and the Motif ES can be converted with software tools. Or, failing that, you can buy sound collections that have already been converted. Some of my favourite factory and third-party MODX sounds originate from the Motif and Motif ES and were converted. And as usual, Motif ES users, my Korgs were still my main synths. All of the factory Motif ES sounds I used were included in the MODX in the ROM. Lost my place. So it's highly likely that when the Montage and MODX are replaced by Yamaha's next flagship, it is likely to be backwards compatible with the Montage and MODF and Motif family. Not to mention the DX7 family of FM synths from the 80s. With Korg, all your hard work finding sounds or making them is likely to be lost in their new product. In essence, start all over again. Since 2001, Yamaha has taken the Microsoft Windows philosophy of remaining compatible with old models in new models. I feel this is highly valuable, and I completely agree. It builds in brand loyalty. If all you have to do is take the sounds off your old keyboard and put them on your new keyboard, and there is some way of converting the sound table, you know, why would you change brands? Why would you not just upgrade? I don't understand that philosophy, I have to be honest, even though I've bought into the Korg ecosystem. Or ecosystem, not ecosystem, ecosystem. I feel this is highly playable, highly valuable. I play classical music and will likely still want to use these sounds long term in the future. I hope Korg is watching, so do I, and reading user comments and learns something about this. Korg was my favourite synth company for more than 20 years. They could be great again, but need to take customer feedback and make a few changes to their philosophy. And value, stressing the word value, older customers wanted to move forward like me from my Korg M1, losing more than I gain in switching to a new model. I still highly value my M1 sounds, and thankfully the M1 VST is great, and Syset's compatibility to my third-party sounds and my own loaded right in. They need to add their ability to their Triton VST, but really they should offer newer hardware keyboard that is compatible with sound collections. Most of my favourite M1 sounds weren't factory presets. Regarding the Fantom O, the Roland Fantom O, this is the main competition. I guess at the moment, because I don't really see Nautilus as competition. You mentioned, sorry, I'll start again. Regarding the Fantom O, you mentioned, here's how I feel. It's worthy competitor to the MODX, unlike the Nautilus. I still prefer the MODX to the Fantom O, which I've tried. As you mentioned, it depends on your needs. Should be the choice determinator. The MODX excels at real-life sampled instruments, something most rock bands need and most live bands of other styles too. The Fantom O does have some supernatural samples, but the MODX in general, just read the feedback online, is much stronger in this area. The Fantom O has a dedicated VA engine, and you can purchase additional VA engines. This is the strong point of the Fantom O. Some people think it's the means of the MODX is not strong enough for analog synth sounds. That is very untrue. The MODX is equally as powerful at making analog sounds as evidenced in many sound collections. However, if you make your sounds from scratch yourself, Yamaha's way of making those sounds is much more complicated. So ease of use of deep editing of VA sounds from scratch, the Fantom O is strong. In the Fantom O, it's its strong point, not its sonic ability. There are tons of great analog patches already made available for the MODX. Some originating from over 20 years of motif programming. I found more of them to use to me in MODX format over what you can get for the Fantom O. The Yamaha sounds are far more appealing to me, but if you're into electronica, synth pop, techno or rap, the Fantom O is probably the winner for you. That is the market Roland and their sound collections is clearly focused on. The Fantom O does have one serious flaw. A complete lack of multi-sample memory that cannot be expanded. It sits at just 256 megs. The original MODX had 4 times that amount of memory, and the MODX Plus has nearly 8 times that amount. But that, as said, sampled instruments are the weaker point anyway of the Fantom O. And while the VA engines are great, I found it's not Roland's classic analog synth sounds that we were using on the most famous 80s, 70s popular rock sounds my bands cover. Roland synths were more popular in music formats outside of rock. It was more Moog, Oberheim, Prophet, ARP, etc. used of the music I cover. One of the great things about the Roland is that they do offer most of the Fantom O software. And I use this, so I've gone through the sound collections and checked out most of kinds of the sounds available on the Fantom O that are not as suitable as either sounds you can get on the MODX or my soft synths. The Fantom O does have a dedicated B3 engine. I've seen a lot of great demos available to really judge it. Sorry, I haven't seen a lot of great demo to allow me to judge it. The MODX has a package called Organimation, which is surprisingly good, and this package for the Kronos is the best I've ever heard with its B3 engine. And it sounds about the same on the MODX from what I've heard. But I use a B3 VST anyway, and the B3 is available on the iPhone for a mere $14. That is likely as good as or better than the Fantom B3 engine, but I don't know. The MODX also works better than the Fantom O with an iPad and an iPhone, and I make use of this too. You need to buy a separate interface for the Fantom O to use iOS in the way the MODX does. And you also require more wires to hook it up. For users in the long haul that don't want to figure out how to get their favourite sounds in the new keyboard when their next flagship technology comes out, Yamaha has been a clear winner for over 20 years. That alone is highly valuable and what made Microsoft Windows so popular, because their users didn't have to start from scratch when they bought a new computer, and the many years worth of software collections is highly available. I can still run a lot of Windows software from 20 years ago on my new computer. I hope Yamaha continues with this philosophy on its next major keyboard. Now, I said earlier on during the comments, I'm not going to read the first part of my response about the time it takes to fix Kronoses, but it is shocking. What is very unclear with some of the comments online about the time it takes to fix Kronoses is it's very unclear whether the device techs are complaining about the authorised Korg service centres or technicians or technical resources. Now, there does seem to be a recurring theme here, and maybe Korg needs to step on this one. But as I said, the problem I have is people complain, but they're not saying whether they're going to an authorised service centre, which is sponsored by Korg, and therefore Korg makes sure the standards are right, or they're going to service technicians. These are people that you find in keyboard magazines and advertising in local music shops that repair stuff. You know, kind of, I suppose, a bit like what I do, but on a commercial basis, because I don't do this commercially. You know, I fix keyboards for myself and I fix keyboards for friends of mine, but I don't fix keyboards for the paying public, because I'll give you an example. So my friend Wayne Harris, who plays for Bon Jovi, which is the Bon Jovi tribute band in the UK, he needs his keyboard serviced within days. So he will gig on a Saturday night. He needs to get his keyboard serviced in the following week, so it's ready for the following Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. Now, I can't. He has asked me if I'd do it for him, and I said, yeah, of course I will, but I can't meet those time frames because I have other things going on. But you know, if it's something where like the JX3P stuff that I've been doing recently, you know, Gary didn't need his keyboard, so he said, well, you know, when it's done, it's done. Fine, because it's taken me 6 months to finally finish that project. So, you know, what you've got to look at is who is doing this. But, you know, I do find it very upsetting as a Korg user that Korg service centres, or the amount of time it's taking to fix Kronoses. Now, I also agree with the bulk of the comments in here regarding the fact that Korg has really missed a trick. with forward compatibility. Now, when Nautilus came out, you couldn't shift your programs from Kronos to Nautilus, and it took a long time for Korg to cotton onto this and release a converter program. But that still had to be run on a computer. You couldn't run it directly on the synth itself. You couldn't just load it in and let the synth do the conversion. You've got to actually run it through a third-party piece of software. So I think they've kind of missed a trick, definitely to Yamaha and definitely to where Roland are going with the Fantom O, the Fantom O, the Fantom O. So Korg, you kind of really need to be listening here. You are missing a trick and you are turning away loyal customers. As I say, that's where we're going. But I always love to hear comments from users about Montage, MODX, Fantom O. I have neither of those two manufacturers' platforms. I've played the Montage. Wayne has one. I've yet to play the Fantom. I just haven't managed to get around to a music shop to do that. None of my close friends that I would necessarily collaborate with actually have one. They've kind of tended to go down the MODX. If they're gigging at the moment, MODX seems to be the popular choice with something like Mainstage or just using the MODX itself. So, I always love to see these comments. So thank you very much for the comments.